What's going on, Canes fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Croot on the U, brought to you by the Scoop on the U. I'm with my co-host Luke Cheney. Luke, how you doing today, brother?
Doing good, man. Just back home for Thanksgiving break, so doing well, doing well.
How's it feel to be back home?
Feels good, man. Different change of background as I'm sure you guys can see. But yeah, no, we're excited for Thanksgiving tomorrow, and excited for a great show tonight.
Right on. Well, man, where you're going to start this show? We actually had his twin brother on recently, Colby. So we're going to be starting off this show with 2023 quarterback. He was given a PWO offer by Miami. He's from Kellogg, Idaho. This is Ripley Luna from the 2023 class.
Hey, what's up?
What's up, Ripley? How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
We're doing great. We're doing great, man. Thanks for taking the time to join us tonight, dude. We truly appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No problem, man. No problem. I always like to jump into this, man. What's your height and weight?
Just over 6'2", about 205, depending on morning or night when I get weighed, but it's right about 205, 6'3", or 6'2 and a half, 205.
Okay. And what kind of season stats did you put up this last year?
So I led the state in total yards. I think I was just over what I have, like 2,750 like passing roughly, and then I had just over 750 rushing.
Yeah, okay, productive, very productive.
Yeah.
What were some of the off-season workouts, before this season started? What were some of the off-season workouts that you really feel helped you improve this season?
So we were pretty busy with camps and just exposure in general. So we did a lot of just traveling to camps and all that. And then even when we were home, we were doing pretty day-to-day as far as like lifting and like training and stuff. We were throwing every day, me and my brother, that is. And we were doing like 6+ hours a day of just consistent work every day. And then when we weren't traveling and like planning camps, that is.
What's up, man? So I just want to ask you. So, what would you consider your greatest strengths as a quarterback?
I would say extending plays, and like when stuff breaks down, I'm able to usually make something out of nothing and just extend plays and give our team like opportunities that I think most kids probably couldn't. I think that's probably the biggest strength of mine. I also throw on the run quite a bit, and then I'm fairly good at scrambling and like making yards like after, I don't know, first contact type deal, making guys miss.
Got you. And then what are some of the things that you think you need to work on the most, like you at quarterback?
I would say maybe my reads and decision making. As far as like, I wouldn't say I make bad decisions, but there are times where I maybe like don't make the best decision. Like it still works out, but it's maybe not the best one, So I'd say definitely my decision making, and then maybe my mid routes, like I don't know, 15 to 20 yards, some of the like in between.
What do you think is, because you mentioned that you want to work on your mid routes, what do you think is the strongest route that you throw?
I'd say probably my deep ball, or like anything within about 10 to 12. I like to think I'm pretty spot on with those. And then my deep ball, I'm pretty confident with my deep ball as well. We throw quite a bit, so I put a lot of work in over the offseason on that. I've seen a lot of improvement, so I'd say that's probably my strengths, my about 10 to 12, and then my deep ball.
Ripley, I saw that you run a 4.5 in the 40-yard dash. Do you consider yourself a dual threat quarterback?
Yeah, I do, and I think the stats show that as well. With me being able to put up 750 plus rushing yards, I was averaging like just at 70 rushing yards a game, and then passing for like right about 300. So, yeah, I'd consider myself a dual threat for sure.
Who are some of your favorite players, guys that you can, steal a little bit of their game from to add to your game?
Like obviously I think from the passing side of it and just like the overall play as far as like just running to pass like ratio and like being able to do both, I would say like a Josh Allen, I'm not like I'm pretty balanced with that, but I'd say I'm more of a passer, and then just being able to make a lot of the throws and then having to run it when I need to,
And then I understand, you also play some safety. Can you just, I guess, explain your role a little bit more on that defense side of the ball?
Yeah, so I think playing safety for me is, especially as like playing safety. I understand like how quarterbacks think, obviously. And it's like just from the offense side of the ball, like and defensive, obviously too. That helps. And then yeah, so I come from a smaller school, so a lot of us go both ways, especially our like good athletes. So yeah, I mean, I enjoy playing safety, and I wouldn't say it's like a luxury to go both ways, but I do like it, So yeah, I'd say my role is just not necessarily like making the big hits, but making the plays, stopping the big plays from happening, because I like to keep myself like out of most of the contact if I can, just because I do play quarterback.
Mhm. Got you. And then, I also know you're a captain, so I'm just curious, like, what is your comfort level as a leader? And then I guess what type of leader would you say that you are?
I like to think I'm a pretty good leader. I've been starting since my sophomore year, so I've had 3 years to do it. And yeah, I've been a captain for the last two. So I think guys look to me as like be in that position. And I take a lot of pride in like leading by example and really just showing them how to do things the right way and stuff. So I think I'm a pretty good leader as far as that goes. And then just being there on time and just showing them how I do things.
What do you feel makes not only an elite quarterback, but even a good quarterback? What traits mentally and physically do you feel benefit that?
I think it's got to be being able to make a majority of the throws and make the right decisions majority of the time. Like everybody's gonna miss a throw or make a bad decision, but I think making the right decision, the proper throws, majority of the time is really important. And I think being able to do things like run the ball and just extend plays is big as well. Just because it doesn't always go how you plan on the football field. A lot of times it doesn't. So being able to like have that ability to extend a play and give a team another opportunity is big, I think.
What's your favorite play in your high school playbook and why?
So we got this thing called it's out of our spread set. So it'll be a slot and two wideouts, and it's called we call it switch. And so they just run up like a 5 yard. So the slot will run a 5 yard out into a seam, and then the post will run like a 4 yard slant into like a post, or the slot the outside guys, the wideouts will. And teams have a lot of confusion with it because they do have to, whether or not it's man or zone. Like when they're man, they have trouble sticking with them, and then when they're in zone, getting that switch to like really, unless they hang a safety super deep, which opens up our flare to our running back. So I mean, it's a really tough play to defend, and we hit on it a lot. So and it became one of those plays where our opponents knew we were going to run it, but they still just couldn't stop it, and we'd run in some of those red zone situations, like 15 yards in, and then some of our like I don't know 3rd and longs, where we just needed some yards because it's a really tough play to defend, and even when they knew it was coming, they really couldn't. So that's probably my favorite one.
Man, so I know with your recruitment and everything, you began a lot of love from Miami.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, man, when did this interest start from the Canes?
So they initially reached out to my brother actually, and then they knew about me, but they knew about him more. And then after talking with Cole quite a bit, they asked about me and then got my number and reached out and all that. So then they offered both of us, and then we decided since they offered both of us, we might as well just come down and check it out. So yeah, it's been super great though. They're super cool people, and I like the comfort and the hosts they've been, and it's been super cool.
What have you been able to do so far on your visit?
So we just went by, watched practice, got a tour of the facilities, met with the academics, football academics lady, and then we also were able to talk with the coaches quite a bit, get a tour like all the locker rooms, weight rooms, all that. So it was pretty cool.
Gotcha. And then everyone talks about the energy that Mario Cristobal's practices are like.
Yeah.
Did you see that energy when you were there?
Yeah, so super high tempo, like not much downtime. They're super short increments of stuff, so they're doing like 15 minutes split into a different thing, like keeping the guys like going. And yeah, I mean a lot of reps. They're really quick with their tempo is what I noticed, especially like they don't waste any time. So I thought that was super productive. Like they were using their time really well. And then yeah, I mean the energy obviously too, a lot of screaming, a lot of shouting, like people just being excited to be there.
One thing, just for fun that everybody loves to know is how far can a quarterback grip it and rip it? How about how far is your range, you think?
So in game, I actually threw one as far as airtime goes. From line of scrimmage to where he caught it, it was 56 yards. That was
Nice.
about four. I was about 4 yards behind line of scrimmage because I actually had to step up on that one. So like net yard is about 60, but I've thrown one 62, just throwing it around, pretty warm. So I threw one actually 62 yards, but my end game max is 56 so far.
Nice, man. Nice, man. Talk to us about some of the drills you go through as a quarterback. Maybe some of your favorite drills.
So a lot of footwork stuff, just yes, a lot of footwork, making sure you always got your platform under you, being able to make throws at any point. You don't have to take a drop, set, and then throw. You can just in the middle of your drop, just throw. So a lot of just like figure eight stuff, diamond drills, loop drills, just being able to be active on your feet, be able to throw it at all times, and then just a lot of reads. Like you'll have a safety, and then they'll depending on what they do, you make your throw. So a lot of just decision making stuff, and then being able to make decisions when you need to, and the right decisions. So a lot of those drills, and then yeah, that's a good majority of it, really.
And just to reiterate, you are currently in Miami right now, looking at the
Yeah,
university, and you will be attending the Pitt game. Yes.
I will be. Yeah.
Okay, that's fantastic to hear, man. That's
Yeah.
fantastic to hear. Just kind of curious, what other schools have been showing you love?
So a lot of schools up north. So like UW, WSU, Oregon, Boise State, Oregon State, Idaho, Montana State. Um, that's been a good majority of it. A lot of people up north, and then as far as like elsewhere goes, it's been Miami, Texas State, Fresno State a little bit. Um, that's about it outside of like up north, and then some smaller schools like FCS type deal.
Mhm. Who are some of the coaches that you've been able to talk to so far from Miami?
So I talked to Coach Juan Swaley, um, and then some of their uh, like recruiting personnel,
Got you.
their
Yeah.
personnel coaches. For the most part, that's been it pretty much. And then yes, just mainly their personnel guys and
Mhm.
their like player directors and all that.
And how was Coach Ponce like?
Oh, it's super cool. Yeah. It was good to talk to them all. And then yeah, they were pretty busy at practice though, so I didn't get much time, but they
Got
seem really.
Gotcha, man. And then have you had the chance to take any other visits so far through your recruiting process?
Yeah. So as far as just visiting, yes, like a lot of the schools up north, I've been to pretty much all of them up north that I mentioned, like UW, WSU, Oregon, uh, Montana State, all them, and then yeah, outside of like as far as like plane flight distance goes, Miami's the only one so far. But I've been on the road like every weekend,
Yeah.
like even during season, it was just a grind. Or like you play Friday night, you wake up 6 a.m. Saturday morning to make it to a noon game, or even earlier than that at times, or you drive the night of the game. So I mean,
Has this whole recruiting process gotten kind of tiring for you?
yeah, I mean it has, but it's like you only get such a limited time to do it. So it's like you either do it or you don't. You can't get it back later. So I mean it's tiring, but I just think about it like, I can't do this for the rest of my life, so I might as well do it while I can.
Yeah, no, for sure. And out of the visits that you have taken, aside from Miami, I know you mentioned have you been up to all the schools by your area.
Yeah.
Which have there been any in particular that really stand out?
Yeah, so I really liked Oregon. We went there like 2 weeks ago when they played UW actually, and then we went to UW the next week, and I really liked UW too. Montana's pretty sweet. They got a lot of new stuff up there, like along with Oregon and UW too. They've all remodeled pretty recently. But those are probably the three main that I've really liked.
Ripley, what legacy do you want to leave behind when you leave high school? What do you want to be known for?
Yeah, I mean, just being a good leader and being a person that kids want to resemble when they play, and just somebody that everyone knows is like played the game the right way, and did things that weren't easy and just never complained and put the team first and really was just worried about getting wins and, being there for his teammates.
Go ahead and give a shout out to the coaches that have helped you, high school coaches that are helping you currently.
Yeah. So actually my youth coach, Eric Pankey, he coached me 5th grade and up pretty much. He's kind of followed me all the way through. And so he's been with me for a long time, like 8 or 9 years. And he was our co-offensive coordinator this year with the high school program in the last 2 years, actually. So he's been big in my football life so far. Like he's just been there the whole time. And then my offensive coordinator, Tim Kimberling, he put in our spread look when I became a quarterback, and that's been great for us. I really appreciate him for doing that. And then just spend as much time as he did, like getting our offense to where it needed to be and all that. And then our head coach, Stan Davidian, he's our defensive coordinator. And, he's great too. He puts in the schemes, breaks down film, just puts a lot of time in. And then Kyle Hudson, he does a lot of our taping and stuff, like injury stuff. He's taping all the players and just being there. He's a cop too, so he puts his time in. But yeah, so he does what he can, and he tapes us and all that. So I really appreciate him for that. And then Corey North, he's like he handles a lot of paperwork stuff, and he stays pretty busy with all that. So he keeps us all held together.
Well, man, I just got one last question for you. This is a question I ask every single recruit that we bring onto this show. Why do you love the game of football? Where do you get that passion to go out there and compete at such a high level on a weekly basis?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there's just I play other sports and I always have. I've been big into sports pretty much my whole life, but there's just nothing like football, let alone like playing Friday night with all your buddies and the stands being full, people cheering, the band playing. Like as far as just the adrenaline rush and all that, like just comes from football. There's just nothing like it. And that's a big thing. And then I just love the physicality of the sport, and it's constantly changing and improving, and like it just seems like it never stops. And then as you go up, your levels of competition just get better. And it's just, I don't know, I just love it. There's nothing like it, not a sport out there like it.
Luke, that was my last question for our great guest. You got anything else here, buddy?
Yeah, so there's got a couple more, man. So what type of offense did you run in high school?
So we were all spread. We ran some tight end sets as well, but we were heavy pass, like 90 plus percent in certain games. So, and then with me being our leading rusher, it was we ran some design runs, but a majority of our rushing stats were through me. So yeah, it was heavy pass and pretty much all spread.
Got you. And
Shot,
then
all that.
everything out of the gun?
Yeah.
Got you. And then what would you say are some of the things or the most important things that you want to see from these colleges in your recruitment?
Really just showing that they care and that they more than just football too, like academically and all that, like want the best for me in the future. And just have the best just have their best hopes for me, and just help me be the best I can be and do what my body can at the highest level, not only physically but mentally as well. And then just really caring and wanting the best for me.
Got you. And then last question, game day playlist. Who's on it? Who are you listening to?
Shoot. It's got to be. I mean, it really depends. When I'm on Ox, it's got to be Young Boy and then some Lil Baby. That's who I like, and then like some Drake, obviously too. But I'd say heavy Young Boy and heavy Lil Baby.
Sweet, man. Sounds good.
Ripley, man, just thank you so much for taking this free time. It was great to have not only you and your brother on last week, dude, so we could get a really, really genuine feel about Idaho football and what these PWO offers we got going to Idaho really, really mean. So thank you for getting the Canes fan base more familiar with you. And, man, we just wish you nothing but the best of luck going forward. And enjoy your time in Miami.
Yeah, we'll do for sure.
Thank you again, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, man.
All right. Our next guest said something had to be fixed when he logged in real quick. He said it's getting fixed right now. So, man, here's the thing about PWOs, walk-ons, all that kind of stuff. These are guys that have to earn it. I mean, these are chip on the shoulders. And this is a guy from Idaho. Two brothers from Idaho that normally Miami doesn't recruit. Normally, a lot of colleges our size don't recruit. So I wouldn't mind having that mindset as a PWO, honestly, where a kid's just willing to come in out of nowhere and just flash potential, because we've seen it have success before. It might take 2 years or so, but they can earn that scholarship. And just to have somebody, even as a quality backup quarterback on the staff who can help us with the scout team, there's value in that. Absolutely value in that. And he considers himself a dual threat quarterback. So that only helps us as we go forward. What do you think about the interview?
Yeah, dude. I mean, Ripley is someone who definitely has a very versatile skill set as a quarterback. You mentioned he has a nice deep ball, can throw 55, 60 yards downfield, also can make plays happen in the short 10 to 12 yard range. And then, with his leg, he was his high school's leading rusher last season. He had 750 rushing yards or something like that. Very accomplished high school player. He totaled over 100 touchdowns in his 3 seasons, which is, no matter where you're playing, is very, very hard to do. And he's someone that, if Miami is able to, grab a player like him, he would just, I think, bring so much to that quarterback room, no matter what capacity.
All right. Well, we actually have our next guest here backstage, Luke. We have got with us 2024 running back James Peoples from Veterans Memorial High School in San Antonio, Texas. This is one of the top 10 rated running backs in his class. Here's a little offer of just, or some of his offers, just so people have an idea of who's going after him. Baylor, Miami, Oklahoma, Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, TCU, Tennessee, SMU, plus more. What's up, James? How you doing, man?
Hello, sir. I'm doing well. And you?
Good, man. It's great to have you on here. Thanks for giving us a little bit of your free time this afternoon.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Luke, did you want to start it off with our fine guest here?
For sure, man. First off, what's up? Hope you're doing well. Got the Miami offer in October. Just tell me about that. Tell me how it came about.
The Miami offer, I was having some contacts with the running back coach previously,
Okay.
and I think I had a big game, and we kind of had some communication started picking up, and I got on the phone with him, and also got a chance to FaceTime with the head coach of Miami, and through there, I was offered by the running back coach, and it was a great experience.
That's awesome, man. And then, how is Coach Smith like? Just from you talking to him, what is he like as a person?
Coach Smith, he's a very cool coach, very energetic. Me and him, we get along pretty well. We share some similarities, I know, when talking with him. So he's a pretty cool, chill coach, but he also explained to me how he's very hard on his running backs and the expectation at Miami.
Got you. And then, still you got them offer less than a month ago, but what are your first impressions on Miami? What do you know about them as a program?
I know that Miami has a great history. The program of the U, it carries a heavy weight, and having the opportunity to be a part of that like lineage of like not only running backs but players that make it to the league and just have those impressions is really honorable. So the U carries a big weight, and yeah.
What is your current height and weight right now, James?
So I'm about 5'10", and a half, and I sit at around 195 in weight.
Okay. Have you had any of your speed times, like 40-yard dash or anything like that?
Okay. So my latest, that was this summer. I actually ran like a sub 4.5 at the Ohio State camp. That's where I was at. And other than that, I haven't had any recent times in my 40s. Nothing like that. In track times, I've in all relays. So I think it was around very low 11s for my 100 time. So yeah.
Very good, very good. So what are some of the off-season workouts that you did before the season started that you feel really helped you this season grow as a player?
Well, I attacked a lot of camps this summer, but leading up to that, I did train with the running back. I don't know if you know him, but his name was Jonathan Gray. He was a pretty good running back down here in Texas, and me and him, we did multiple drills throughout the summer, just working on my footwork, my speed, my agility, being able to read the line and defense. So it was a lot of work that was put in. I mainly put it in with him, a few other trainers that are down here in Texas as well to help me leading into the season.
How did the season go for you and your team?
This season?
Yes.
This season is going pretty good. I've had a phenomenal year. This has been my breakout year in terms of rushing yards. I think I have about almost 2,000, and touchdowns I have about 30, if not more. But my team, we are in round 3. We play a team called Flower Bluff this Friday. So it's been a great season, and still becoming that. So yes, sir.
You know, big game again this weekend against Flower Bluff, as you mentioned. What are some of the things that you've seen from them on film?
Well, I know that they are really going to try to key in on me with some things now going down here in Texas. They're talking about trying to pack the box, put as many people around me as they can. But we're going to go in there with a head full of steam. I'm going to run hard as I do every game. But not only that, I know I got my teammates behind me and with me to open up the passing game as well as some of the run game and be able to do what we're capable of doing. So, I mean, it's going to be a dogfight, but we're ready for it.
Got you. And I'm just curious, man, because you mentioned 2K rushing yards, 30 touchdowns. How many touches do you get per game on average?
On average. So I say my average is about probably 15 carries a game. So I don't get some games I have a lot of carries, like I say, probably in the mid 20s, and then some are very low that I have limited carries, maybe about 10 or so. But they're normally big breakout runs and things like that.
Got you. And then how would you describe your rushing style?
My rushing style.
Yeah.
I mean, I love everything. Outside, inside zone. I can pretty much do it all, but I prefer probably hitting the A gap. I love the A gap and expanding. That's a big part of our offense is A gap and expand. So hitting it up through the middle, love it.
Who is your guys' biggest rival school?
Our biggest rival school. I say San Antonio Taft. We played them about 3 years in a row, and they beat us all 3 years. So it's been something, even though it's out of district, it's been something that we've kind of had a little bit of tension with, and we go back and forth with. So they're probably our biggest rival school. And this year, since we got a new schedule, it's probably going to be Liberty Hill because they're 1 in our district. We're number 2. So that battling of the 1 and 2 seed is definitely some tension there.
Definitely. So what traits do you feel make an elite running back? Is it the mental and physical side of it? What do you feel really makes an elite running back?
What makes an elite running back? For me mentally, I say a running back's composure, patience, and knowing his body. Because as a running back, there's a lot of things you got to do. Some people don't understand how much goes into running back. But the mental state of being a running back is very tough. You got to know when things are going to be happening, anticipate things before they happen, and know how, you got to move your body to get into skinny. Sometimes you got to get skinny. Sometimes you got to burst. Sometimes you got to change your momentum, how you going to move. So the mental part of the game is very, very heavy. Now, physically, I'm sorry, could you repeat that question again?
Just the physical and mental side of how you feel elite quarterbacks are created. You mentioned the mental side. What's the physical side of it? Do you feel that creates an elite elite running back?
Okay. So what makes an elite running back? The physical side of it. How much punishment you can actually take. So as a running back, you got to be able, I feel like during the off season, putting on a lot of weight and muscle mass as much as you can, but maintaining mobility is very important to be an elite running back. Knowing how much muscle mass you got to put on your body. You don't want to lose too much mobility because you put on too much muscle mass. So you got to be very in tune with your body physically as well as mentally. But physically, it's a lot on your body. Running back, we take a lot of punishment. So you gotta be in tune with your body and listen to it.
What do you think your biggest strengths are as a player?
As a player, my strengths. I have a lot of strengths, but I say not just running the ball as well as catching the ball, but also as a motivator. That might be a little different, but as a player, I'm a very big motivator. If I'm not in the game, I'm motivating my teammates on the sideline. Hey, let's get them up. Our defense on the field. I'm motivating. I'm an all-around player that can only like run or catch the ball because I feel like I am an all-purpose back. But I'm also a person that can get others up and bring that energy for sure.
So would you describe yourself as a leader? And if you do, what is your style of leadership?
Leader, I do consider myself a leader, but my style of leadership, I say I lead by example. I set an example for not only my teammates, but the young ones that are coming up on our team, kind of let them know how things are going to be. At our school, I'm in this leadership thing that we do across our district to help better us student athletes on how to lead and how to be proper leaders. Um, so I don't only lead by example, but I lead by, I say, how I am, my demeanor, how friendly I am to people, and multiple ways of doing that. Yes, sir.
And what is this leadership program that you mentioned that you said is across your district?
So I'm in Judson ISD, and our district administrator, Ms. Ball, she has something set up to where we're going to take them all across the district. So from Judson, from my school, Veterans Memorial, Wagner, we all come together, and our coaches choose different athletes. It's a student athlete leadership thing, and we all talk about leadership characteristics and things that happen in our school and what we can do better to make a difference.
James, who are some of the players you look up to? NCAA, NFL, guys you want to copy your game from a little bit, add a little bit to your game.
Okay. Some players I've looked at, in the past, I've also looked at Zeke. I look at Saquon Barkley a lot. I love his footwork and his burst. It's immaculate. I love that quick twitch that he has. He's a very quick back. I also looking at some current college running backs as well. Trevion Henderson, Nicholas Singleton at Penn State. Some of these big running backs are making a name for themselves. He's even a freshman. He's doing things like that. So I pay attention to a lot of running backs, not only in the league, but in college right now, doing the things that I aspire to do when I get there. So, yeah.
All right, we're talking game film study here. This is your weekly game film study against your opponent. Keying in under the defensive line. What are some of the things you try to key on early to take advantage of?
So with him, no, he's the Texas Tech commit, I believe, right?
Just any defensive line that you're facing.
Oh, any defensive line that we're facing?
Yeah.
Technique. Well, I always do look at the fronts, how they line up, and what eye they're in. So knowing that with our play call that our coach gives us, you can kind of see where they're going to be slanting towards and knowing the gaps that could possibly be open before the play happens. They kind of can give it away with the way the linebackers are set up and how they're slanted, looking at pressure on fingers and things like that. So different techniques and things I've learned from some other running backs kind of helps you with that.
What are some of the areas of your game that you think you need to work on the most?
Some areas I could work on, every area, because I can always be getting better. But key areas I can see, always can be a better blocker. I know I can be a better blocker in those aspects. I pretty much got to say every area, because every area I think I need to get better at and I can do better at. So I'm always pushing myself to do the best I can.
Got you, man. And then, shifting a little bit back to your recruitment, what are some other schools that are showing the most love right now?
Okay. Some schools that are showing love. I won't give too much information out, but all the schools that I've been offered by, pretty much all of them are showing love. Staying in pretty good contact weekly, some daily, and I'm really appreciating that, loving it, the process, and my relationship with these coaches and programs.
Got you. And then have you had the opportunity to visit any schools for some games this past year, or is that something that you're more so looking forward to doing next year?
As far as visits go, I'm probably going to be visiting around the springtime. Kind of busy right now in the season, but some places I did go to see was TCU and Texas. Since they're in state, they were easier, so I kind of went out to some of them games. Texas versus Alabama and TCU versus Oklahoma State were my games I went to.
Nice. And then the atmosphere at Texas, just describe it. How was it?
The atmosphere at Texas is energetic. I love it. The burnt orange and the white. You look around, walking into that stadium, and it's just booming. Crowds cheering. You got the bull, all that stuff. They bring the energy, they bring the heat. So, the energy at Texas is definitely live, I'd say.
Well, James, I just got a couple more questions for you, man. I'm kind of curious. What's your favorite drill?
My favorite drill?
Yeah.
Ooh, let's go take some thought. I say I love bag drills.
Yeah.
The bag drills with the footwork. I mean, I don't know exactly what you call these drills, but I just bag drills. I mean,
I don't
with
know.
make cuts and getting the knees up. I love that drill. So that's probably my favorite.
What do you consider the toughest drill?
Toughest drill.
You know, running hills or anything like that?
Hills.
Yeah.
Hills are fun in my opinion. But man, I'll say bleachers.
Okay. Yeah.
Bleachers. I mean, we got some pretty big stadiums around where we go for practice this summer. So bleachers up those big stadium stairs they a pain.
I can definitely see it, man. I can definitely see it. Well, man, I got one question left for you. It's a question we ask every single recruit that we bring onto this show. James, why do you love the game of football? Where do you get the passion to go out there and compete at such a high level on a weekly basis?
Okay. I say I love the game because of the game for me offers that it offers that safe place for me that I can kind of be my true self outside of school and everything else that I have going on with football. It's that place where I can disperse my energy at, and it's a sport that I just love growing up. Before I even played football, I mean, just watching it on TV, I was like, this sport just for some reason I'm just drawn to it, and I was drawn to it ever since I was a little kid, and the physicality of it, you know, the point of the game, you know, having to avoid defenders, get into the end zone. I've always been a little obsessed with the game of football, even before I touched the football, and it was really just a drawn passion from my heart. I mean, and the relationships that you build throughout the sport. I mean, football is a team sport, but it feels more like a family sport. I mean, you are out here going to war with your brothers, really hitting, fighting just for that win. So the sport offers a lot more than just running the ball into an end zone or stopping a run. I mean, it offers family and friends. So I love it for that.
It's awesome, man. So I just got two more questions myself. With your recruitment, what are some of the things that are most important to you that you want to see from these colleges?
My recruitment, I a lot of things. What I like to see is how they develop their players. Do they treat everybody with the same respect and love? Their academic parts, how their student athletes are doing in school. Do they get in trouble a lot? You know, things of that nature. And how these coaches, well, specifically running back coach for me, how they develop their running backs. Like, how are their running backs, like, how are they producing these league talents and getting these guys better? So there's a lot of things I look at, especially the location. I forgot to mention that. Location is a big part. I mean, I'm down here in Texas, so
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't ventured out too much into these places. So this summer, I'm looking forward to seeing some of that stuff and seeing where's the best fit for me possibly.
Got you, bro. And then, last question, game day playlist. Who are you listening to? Who's on it? Let's hear it.
Oh, game day playlist. I got a lot of artists. I love
Okay.
Lil Baby. He's a no-brainer. Dirk.
Mhm.
I listen to Big Yabo. I don't know if you know who Big Yabo is. I listen to some classics like 50 Cent, Lil Wayne sometimes, Drake. I have a really diverse playlist. Quinn FNF.
Okay.
I listen to a lot of guys. I
Got
can't
you.
name them all off the top of my head. I have to take a look.
No, you good, man. That's awesome.
Man, you make me feel old saying Lil Wayne's old school, bro. Jeez.
Hey, early
That makes me
2000s.
feel old.
Yeah.
Well, man, James, man, thank you for taking the time, bro. We truly, truly appreciate you giving us some time and letting the Canes fan base get more familiar with you, man. We know the sky's the limit for you, and we can't wait to stay in touch and, bring you back on and let Canes fans know about your development and your recruitment.
Absolutely.
Thank you again for taking this time, man. We truly appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. I enjoyed it.
Awesome.
Have a great night, James.
Yes, sir. You too.
Have a good one.
All right, we've actually got our next guest backstage already here. We have got a quarterback coach. It's a little different here for us, guys. We've got a quarterback coach. He played for the University of Southern Florida and for Weber International University. And like I said, he's a quarterback coach now. This is Braylon Trujillo. Balin, how you doing, man?
Doing pretty well, man. How about yourself?
Doing great, man. Thank you for taking the time to give us a little bit of free time this afternoon. I mean, it's great to hear about what you got going on in the camps. Not the camps, but the training you got going on.
Yeah, no, I appreciate again you guys taking the time to get to know a little bit more about me and what I do, and obviously hear what I have to say and some of the opinions that maybe the questions you guys have and stuff like that. And I just appreciate your guys' time as well. It takes a lot of your time and our time, that the people that are on your show. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you very much. Well, just kind of curious here, let's start off with your high school experience at quarterback. You played for Boone High School and then transferred to Oak Ridge. What was the change to Oak Ridge about? What drove that?
Yeah, so the school that I was at, the first 3 years of my high school career was at Boone High School. I got moved up to varsity my sophomore year. That same year, we went to the state championship. We played Miami Northwestern. If you guys know a little about that program, at that time they had 8 kids committed to the University of Miami. Ja'Cory Harris was a starting quarterback. They had Tommy Streeter at receiver, Sean Spence at linebacker, Marcus Forson defensive tackle. So we played some guys. Kendall Tompkins at wide receiver as well. So, and Teddy Bridgewater was on the side. So there was just so much talent. We had our butts blown out. But the focal point of our offense at Boone High School was running. We had a pro-style offense. We had ball game. At the time, me and another kid were splitting reps, and it just logically didn't make sense for me to stay in a program like that, even though we were very successful. Because we went to the state semifinals, lost to Seminole, who had Ray Armstrong, Andre DeBose, and Dyron Dye, 2 Hurricanes. And so, so we had a really good stint there. But at the end of the day, I wanted to play college football. So my decision to go to Oak Ridge High School was strictly going to a spread offense, a new offense at that, because it just had a new head coach, Elijah Williams, who played at Florida. And so he pretty much told my dad and I in the middle of our transfer process that if I was to come there, that obviously I'd be the starter, but we'd be opening up the spread offense and start throwing the ball around. So that was the only way I was going to get recruited. And so we made that change. And the school is literally 3 miles from Boone High School, so they're somewhat rivals. So it's pretty cool how, the storyline there, and they made it a big deal, obviously, when I transferred and made a whole big article on it and everything. But yeah, it was just ultimately for a college decision. Boone has historically had a better, obviously, history in football, but at the end of the day, I wanted to play college football.
Who are some of the you spoke on one coach already, but who are some of the coaches that made a big impact on you in high school?
Yeah, he's really the only one. I'll be honest with you. Coach Elijah Williams, he took me in. He was my head coach at Oak Ridge. He's historically one of the winningest coaches ever in Orlando area, and I was his first ever quarterback. His first year coaching was the 2009-10 season Oak Ridge. He's coached at Oak Ridge. They were a powerhouse, and he went over to Jones High School where he's at right now, and they're a powerhouse right now. They currently have Malik Bryant, who's committed to the University of Miami as his linebacker. So this guy, he's the best thing that's ever happened to me, other than my dad. I think my dad obviously would be my next coach. He's ultimately the one that trained me since I was 4 years old in sports, and everything that I've ever accomplished is because of his ability and his determination to make me a better athlete and training as a young age and turning our whole entire garage into a weight room, and me running miles every single day and going to the batting cages, then going from there to shooting hoops, and then going to the field to throw routes. So, he was there constantly and my whole life. So I think between those two, obviously my dad and Coach Elijah Williams, especially in my high school days, they're definitely the ones that made the most impact. But Coach Elijah Williams, if it wasn't for him, honestly, I wouldn't be able to live the dreams I did, because it was his running back coach that was at the University of South Florida who ended up giving me the opportunity to play there. And that's how that whole thing worked out. So, again, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be talking to you probably right now, and I wouldn't have had the success I've had in the kind of the career that I've had if it wasn't for my senior of high school.
Hey, man, and you just mentioned it a little bit, but I'm just curious, what was your whole recruiting process like? And then I guess additionally, what are some of the other things that led you to attend USF?
Yeah, man. So my dad played at UCF. So he played back in 88 and 89. So I always told my dad, I want to create my own legacy. A lot of people follow their dad's footsteps, as we see. And so I was like, you know what? If I've given the opportunity, I want to kind of create my own. I want to be like one of those legacy guys that, I just played at UCF because my dad played there. So, but they didn't even recruit me, so I didn't even have that option. But yeah, the recruiting process was interesting, man. I had over 8 scholarship offers coming out of high school. I was actually verbally committed, or in what I thought was a true verbal commitment, to Charleston Southern. Their coach came to our campus. We walked around for an hour, and I pretty much gave him my word that I was going to commit there. And then a couple days before signing day, I got a phone call from Coach Elijah Williams that he was going to be calling me. And sure enough, the recruiting coordinator at the time, his name was Chuck Kelly. He called me and he said, man, I'm just being honest with you. The need of our position right now is offensive line. So they ended up giving my scholarship to an offensive lineman right before signing day. So that really threw me off because I was all in. And most people that know who I am, I'm a strong believer and a big Christian. So being a big Christian school at a Division I program, it was like almost a no-brainer. I didn't even have to take a visit. I was just already committed. My mind was made up. But when I got the news that they had given the scholarship to the offensive lineman, that kind of it made me take a step back and not try to rush the process, but make sure I actually enjoyed the process and take it for real and what it was. So I did not sign on signing day, and I kind of let a couple of weeks go by. And sure enough, I got a couple of calls from a couple of small schools, even a junior college. And out of nowhere, I'll never forget it. I'm literally waking up about to take an 8-hour trip to Alabama on a visit, and I get a phone call from Peter Voss. It was really early in the morning. It was like 8 o'clock, and I didn't recognize the number. It was a Tampa number, and I picked it up. And it was Peter Voss. He was the quarterback coach at USF. And he's like, hey, have you committed anywhere? And I'm like, no, sir. And he goes, well, we've been reviewing your tape this last week. We finally made the decision that we want to give you the opportunity to play here. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. So, of course, he went back and forth with my parents, and we still made the trip up to Alabama. We told that coach that we were going to give him the time for the official visit. And so during the middle of our visit, my mom, of course, she was excited, pretty much told the coach right there, hey, I'm just letting you know he's playing for USF. And so it was just like, whoa, Mom, like, not like, but of course we were all excited about the opportunity, and I was able to stay in Florida, and it was obviously my dad's rival. So it was pretty cool. So my dad and I took a visit, and we went to a spring practice and pretty much told my dad on the way home, I'm like, this is where I'm going to be committing. This is where I'm going to be attending football and hopefully living out my dreams. At the time, they only had one scholarship quarterback. It was BJ Daniels, and then they had 2 other guys. Evan Landy was a tight end, kind of like a hybrid guy, and then they had a guy coming in, Matt Floyd. He was kind of in my class coming in at the same time. So there was a big opportunity for me to come in and compete early. So that's pretty much why I made the decision to go to USF. But man, the recruiting in general, and I see it now as a quarterback trainer, it's pretty tough, man. And man, like I said, I had my mindset on one school, and then all of a sudden that was taken away from me, and then then out of nowhere, this opportunity came. So, and again, it was all because Coach Elijah Williams played under a guy named Coach Franks, who was his running back coach at the University of Florida, who now became player personnel at USF. And that's how that conversation started without me even knowing. And then sure enough, they're in the office reviewing my tape, and Skip Holt said, let's take a chance on the guy. So it was just amazing how it all happened.
And then, what's your message to these high school quarterbacks and how they should, I guess, take their recruitment?
Yeah, so I pretty much handle a lot of the guys that I train's recruitment, because at the end of the day, a lot of high school coaches, they're focused on a lot of different things. And unfortunately, they're a lot of old school in the way of things of relying on these coaches to come to these schools and seeing these guys, especially like spring football. But if you're not with a trainer, it's really hard to really get recruited. I'm just going to be honest with you. So I handle a lot of the recruiting from my quarterbacks, and I pretty much tell them, like, take your visits, go watch, go look at these programs, and ultimately commit to the school that's going to give you the best opportunity to play. A lot of people, they commit based off the school, the name, but at the end of the day, you'll find them in the transfer portal after a year. And that's ultimately what I don't want from my quarterbacks. I want them to find a home that they're comfortable in, that they're actually going to have the opportunity to learn something, compete. Maybe you have to sit in a redshirt year and learn, but at the end of the day, have the best opportunity to see the field and not get caught up in the hype of a program because of the success that they've had maybe over the years past, or whatever the case may be. Just literally find the perfect fit for you. Obviously, find out what type of offense they run, how long the coach has been there, the consistent of communication that they have. You got to look at all these factors, and at the end of the day, hopefully when they make that decision, they're making one that's best for them and not necessarily committing to the name of a program, but what's going to be beneficial for them to play.
Mm-hmm. And then, how were your experiences at USF, and then what led you to transferring to Weber?
Yeah, so USF was arguably probably the best year of my life. Honestly, man, I had such a good routine going on. I love my quarterback coach. I mean, our quarterback room, we were very tight. We're always together on the weekends. And just being in a big time Division I program, I mean, running out in Raymond James Stadium in front of 80,000 on a Saturday night against West Virginia. I mean, I'll just never forget these feelings. And playing Louisville, obviously playing Miami. I mean, it was just really cool to experience all that. But what ultimately led to my decision to transfer is after spring of my redshirt freshman year, I sat down and they did a coaching rotation, which I think is really cool looking at it from a coach's perspective. But Skip Holtz, what he did was he rotated all the coaches to a different position in the spring. And so the quarterback coach that recruited me, Peter Voss, went to tight ends. And then the tight ends coach went to running backs. And then the running backs coach, which is Todd Fitch, who's now at Ohio State, went to quarterbacks. So we all had a different position coach, even though they were on staff the year before. He never recruited me. He didn't know nothing about me. So I just kind of felt like I got left in the fold. And there was 4 of us. So again, it was BJ Daniels, Bobby Eveld at the time. He went on scholarship. And then me and Matt Floyd. And so, man, we were just, like I said, battling it back and forth. And at the end of the spring, he sent me in his office. Todd Fitch did. Like, hey, man, like, we had a really good spring. We loved some of the stuff you did. But he's like, we're just going to have to see how this all plays out. BJ's coming back. Bobby Eveld is coming back, and he was the backup. So I kind of felt like, man, like, plans for me were going to be another 2 years if that was even the opportunity. Every year you're being replaced by another recruit. So I'm like, at the end of the day, I got to check off on my bucket list playing Division I. I got to do the things I wanted to do. And at the end of the day, I want to play football. That's all I wanted to do. I made up my mind that I didn't care where it was. And so I reached out to 5 different schools. Literally, I left the exit meeting of our spring, went to the gym, shot some hoops around just to kind of get my mind off what just took in place. And I sent an email on my own without telling anybody to FIU, Middle Tennessee, Weber National, Jacksonville University, and I think Marshall. And Marshall, Middle Tennessee, and FIU were like 3 of the schools that really communicated with me the most while I was in high school. And so I just sent them a shot, like saying, hey, I'm looking to transfer. Are you guys looking for a quarterback? And the first school, I'm not even joking, within like 3 minutes of an email, Weber International hit me up and said, hey, we'd take you on an unofficial visit, but you got to get your release before we can talk to you. Which, again, I didn't know how all that transfer stuff works. So literally texted Coach Fitch not even 15 minutes after I just got done seeing him in the gym, which is right across the street. If you guys know anything about USF's campus, literally there's a rec center right in the athletic building. So I was sitting right in there by myself, and I texted him. I said, hey, are you still in your office? He's like, yes, sir. So I just showed up back to Coach Fitch's office. I said, hey, I just want my release. And he was like, whoa, are you sure you want to do that? I was like, yes, sir, I want my release. And so he talked to Skip Holtz about it, and then they ended up giving it to me about 30 minutes later. And I was able to talk to any program that I wanted to. And so reached back to Weber National. He set me up. I went on a visit that following week, and pretty much in the office, the head coach said, you got a full ride here. You got to worry about nothing. And you starter. So that's ultimately why I was trying to transfer. Later on, I think FIU reached out, and I think reached out, but my mind, and close to home. It's only an hour away from Orlando and Lake Mills, Florida, and I play football. And so I didn't play politics. I didn't want to wait for an opportunity. I wanted to come to the guy right away, and that's what happened at Weber, and that's ultimately why I made that decision.
Your senior season in high school, what did you want to prove, and what kind of legacy did you want to leave behind?
Well, at the time, Oak Ridge wasn't really a powerhouse. They weren't winning. They had like 10 straight losing seasons. And so I think they had one good season at 7-3 a couple years before I got there. But historically, Oak Ridge was on the downside of things. And once they hired Coach Elijah Williams, that was a pretty big hire, and especially with a big name like that. And so I really wanted to be the first to start something of change, of a culture. We see that a lot in college football, like, people in rebuilding years. And I felt like with the arm talent that I had and the athletes that they had, they never really had a true quarterback. Historically, Oak Ridge has always had good athletes playing quarterback. They never had a true quarterback with the mindset of a quarterback, which that's what I was. And so when I came in, I'll never forget the first day I was there, and Coach Elijah Williams introduced me to the team. I mean, everybody was calling me Tom Brady. Everybody was saying state champions. Like, it was just the aura was amazing, and it's an historical black school. So right now it's predominantly Hispanic, but it's definitely more along the lines of African American. So being a white kid, or I'm actually Hispanic, but coming in and everybody seeing that, it was like, wow, like life was rejuvenated, especially coming from a program like Boone High School, which is historically, again, we just went to the state championship and then state semifinals the year before. So of course they're like, wow, this is big time. And so I love that. I love that family culture there. And man, I just gravitated towards it. And I just wanted to leave something behind saying like, hey, I accomplished what I wanted to do. We had a winning season. We went to a bowl game. We're one game away from the state playoffs. We did a lot of great things 6-4 in the season. We lost 2 games that we should have won. But at the end of the day, I finished 3rd in the county, 5th in Central Florida, and went to an all-star game, made a bowl game. So I did a lot of things that I, would have probably never done if I stayed around at Boone High School. And it's just the best season I've ever had, and just because it was just amazing. And I finally felt like I was wanted, and I was able to showcase my ability of throwing the football instead of handing the ball off every time I got in the game. So it was truly a blessing to be a Pioneer. And now I'm there now. I decided to come back after I graduated at Weber. Become a teacher and a coach, and I ended up stopping coaching about 4 years ago to focus solely on my quarterback training. But man, I love being at Oak Ridge. I love those kids, and it's just great, man. I just feel like people look up to me, especially in that community. Being the outsider coming in and accepting those guys and being a part of that. I think that's just ultimately the best thing that I've ever done in my life.
You played under Skip Holtz, briefly there. What was he able to teach you?
He taught me a lot about how to handle adversity. The season in 2011 when I played, we were 5-0 in the country, just beat Notre Dame on national television, first game. I know there was like a 6-hour rain delay, but we still beat Notre Dame, which we were not expected to do so. We won literally every game by more than 20 points. I think our second game was FAMU. We won like 60-something to 7 or 13. I mean, we were rolling. And then all of a sudden, we lost 6 straight games. And it was like a complete turnaround. We went from number 16 in the country to unranked, obviously, and fighting for a bowl opportunity. And unfortunately, we finished the season 5-7. And so learning how to deal with adversity and how he handled himself through that whole thing. I know it's difficult to see, and I know that people only see from the outside in, us college fans, especially with the University of Miami right now. Like, that's a program, obviously, that I follow really closely, and just watching everybody just try to force the winning aura or the standard so early in a rebuilding year. It's pretty tough. And to watch how Skip Holtz handled himself through that process was pretty cool to see. Unfortunately, we all wanted to win, but at the end of the day, like, there's things in place that have to be changed, and your recruitment has to start the way you want to do things. And so just to see how he handled adversity was cool. But man, I really learned more through Peter Voss, who was my quarterback coach. Obviously, I spent more time with him. And so he obviously being in the meeting rooms every single day and watching film with him and him breaking down the game. I learned that more from a quarterback perspective and not really just trusting my arm, but understanding how to break down defenses, how to read defensive fronts, how to identify coverages based off corner alignment, safety alignment, stuff like that. So I learned a really bunch under Peter Voss, but ultimately he was under Skip Holtz. But Skip Holtz was more of the head coach. He really wasn't a position coach, even though he played quarterback. He was rarely in our room. He was obviously overseeing everything else. So Peter Voss was mainly my guy that I learned more under as the quarterback position at USF.
Man, so I mean, just tell me, man, how did your seasons go at Weber International, and then what were your experiences like at the professional level?
Yeah, so at Weber National was great. I became a starter day one. My first game, it was pretty. We played against Louisiana College D3 program at home, and we were up 10-7 at halftime. I scored a touchdown, and that was pretty cool, man. Just to get back in the swing of things. At the time, I redshirted at USF, obviously playing scout team or whatever, but it was my first live action since my senior year, so it was definitely a lot of butterflies going on. But once I started getting the groove of things, it was pretty simple. I think my third game, I played Jacksonville University, lit it up against them. And unfortunately, they're not a program anymore, but they were, pretty good D1 program. Beat them at their home turf. And that was a pretty cool experience in my redshirt sophomore year. And, finishing the season up in Blacksburg, Virginia, we played a team, I believe it's Virginia. I don't know, something, but we beat them and went off on a really high note at the end of my redshirt sophomore year. And then the spring of my redshirt, going into my redshirt junior year, I'm still redshirt sophomore, but going into my junior year, unfortunately, the last play I tore my ACL. I had a blindside blitz. He literally ran into my leg as I'm planting, and man, that really shaped everything. It turned everything around for me, honestly, and it was something that I needed in that moment because, again, as I told you earlier, as a man of faith, and I kind of got lost pretty much being the starting quarterback of a college program and being the face of a program. It got to my head, and I was just doing a lot of things that I just knew wasn't right. And sure enough, like the night before, I prayed to God and said, "Please show me that I'm still a child of yours, and I'm getting away with all this, and nothing's really happening." And sure enough, man, the last play, literally my last play, I was done. I tore my ACL, and I'll never forget getting carted off the field. I was at peace because I knew that's what I needed. I got humbled really quickly, and I went from hero to zero in one play. And so it kind of shaped my mindset from that point on, and I never took things for granted again. And I got the surgery, was fully cleared back in 5 months, and Ended up moving to safety because my coach didn't trust how quick I came back from an ACL tear. But man, I had fun with it. And again, my first game of action, I played Jacksonville University again and got a pick six. Literally my first game of action of safety of 55 yards. You guys can see that on YouTube. It's hilarious. I had my brace on and everything, but it was a cool experience to feel what it feels like to be on the other side of the ball, scoring and picking off a quarterback. But so anyways, I went back to my senior year, went back to quarterback and was a part of the first ever conference championship. We won it in 2014. That was a really cool experience. And then after the conclusion of my senior year, we finished off 23 in the country. We went 8-3 my senior year. And again, like I just said, we won the Sun Conference Championship, and that was the first ever time the program was in the conference. So that was really cool. Got a ring my senior year. And then when that was over and I didn't have the calls that I was expecting to pursue further avenues and professionally, I went straight into quarterback training and coaching at Oak Ridge High School and accepted the teaching job. But in a couple of years of me doing that, I got a random call to throw at Florida State's Pro Day. And so it's crazy how that sounds, but my whole life being a Canes fan, Florida State, their coach is calling me saying, hey, you're going to be the only quarterback throwing in a pro day. And we got Nyquan Murray, who was at Oak Ridge, and he kind of helped set that whole thing up and had a bunch of, Jacquez Patrick. And so I had some pretty big names. And so I'm like, let's do it. So I literally threw at Florida State Pro Day, was the only quarterback to throw there, and lit it up. Had 2 incompletions out of the entire day, and all 32 NFL scouts were there. And I talked to, I think it was the Seattle Seahawks and the Chargers and one other team. They approached me and pretty much got my information and wanted my agent's number and everything. And at the time, I didn't even have an agent. So I'm like, wow, so this could be something huge. And then that kind of faded away. And then out of nowhere, I got a call to play in the Arena League from that situation. So went straight into arena football and played there 3.5 years. And that was a pretty cool experience. It's a lot different than the outdoor game. I'll tell you that. It's a lot faster. Obviously, the field's more condensed. That wall is undefeated. So if you run into it, it ain't going nowhere, but you are. And so I experienced that in my last game. I signed my last year professionally with the Orlando Predators. They play in the Amway Arena where the Magic play. And so my last game against Carolina Cobras, I broke my hand right before halftime and ended up finishing the rest of the game, obviously with adrenaline. But I took my wrap off, and it's on my throwing hand on my pinky, and it was completely black and blue. And at that time, I'm like, you know what? My passion's coaching. I don't really need to risk my body in a situation like this. I mean, these guys are still trying to, make it to the NFL. And I played against some NFL guys on the D-line, and it's brutal, and it looks easy from afar, but it's definitely more intense than the outdoor game. I really learned to appreciate the outdoor game because there's more space and there's more things to do with more linemen and stuff like that. In arena, 4 guys can come at you with 3 guys blocking. If your running back is leaked out, you better get rid of the ball in 3 seconds or you're probably hitting the turf pretty hard. So it was cool. Don't get me wrong. I love being indoors and in the AC, not really sweating so much. The fans are right there, so it's really cool. But yeah, I really do appreciate the outdoor game. I wish I had the opportunity to play in the NFL, but God had other plans. So I still got to play professionally. I still got to get paid for the sport I love the most, and it was really cool, and to experience that. But yeah, that's pretty much what happened in college and professionally for me.
Got you. And then tell me more about Be True QB training and what you got going on with that.
Yeah, so I've been doing this for about 8 years now. Started in January of 2015. It's like I said, right when I graduated college. And man, I've grown my business to where now I'm traveling across the country, putting on quarterback camps. I'm in conversations with Kurt Warner. My best friend now is Quincy Carter, played at Dallas. I'm really tied in with the Olsen family, Kevin Olsen, Greg Olsen, and we do camps together in Charlotte, North Carolina. Obviously, I do it in Orlando, where I'm from, in Central Florida, and I travel down to Miami and train guys. And I've just been blessed, man. And I've trained over 220 quarterbacks alone in Central Florida. That's just Central Florida. And I've coached in the Elite 11 4.5 years. And that's obviously the top quarterbacks in the country. And I do the regionals in Orlando and Miami. And I've met really, obviously, the best talent there is at that position. I'll never forget a cool story, side note, at American Heritage a couple years ago. Stetson Bennett was there. And he ran out on the field in a mailman hat. And this is a true story, guys. And I literally asked him, I said, why do you have a mailman hat on? And he goes, it was the only hat I had in the car. And I literally said, well, that's good because you're delivering dimes. So I'm going to call you the mailman. And sure enough, that's what his nickname is in college football right now. And I was the first one to tell him about that. So, and I had proof of it. I literally reached out to him on social media after that. And he's like, yeah, you're right. And stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. I still talk to his dad, but he's literally called the mailman because at Elite 11 camp, he had to grab the only hat that his dad had in his car. And he wore it that day. Lit it up. But At the time, he really wasn't highly recruited, but man, that kid had a freaking arm on him. And now look at him; he's probably going to win the Heisman this year. But I've also met guys like Justin Fields out there, and Joe Milton, the guy I worked with at Olympia, who's at Tennessee, is now going to be the starter because Hendon Hooker went down, and Brian Maurer got to see his career blow up. He was also at Tennessee at one point, and again, I just met a lot of solid quarterbacks through my time being in the Elite 11, and then obviously training myself. I've worked with guys like DeAndre Francois, went to Florida State, Casey Thompson, who's now at Nebraska, John Rice Plumlee, who's at UCF, Mackenzie Milton, who's at UCF and FSU, Marvin Washington played at UConn, Woody Barrett, who was at Auburn, then went to Penn State, finished off at UCF, Quadri Jones, who was at UCF, at Florida State. I mean, I've trained some of the top guys that people know about, and I've just been blessed. And they work for me in my camps too. When they come back home in the off season, when they're not training, they're working for me, and it's really cool to see. And again, I've just been blessed, and I'm just waiting for really my first Hurricane quarterback that I train. I know that what we've seen this year has been pretty brutal, and I'm hoping one of those guys has the opportunity to reach out to me and get to work unless they hit the portal. But yeah, we need some help down south, and I'm really looking forward to the first time I really work with a true Kane quarterback. I did work with Cade Weldon a little bit. He did play at UM for a little stint there, and then he ended up transferring out. But yeah, man, it's we'll talk about that later. But yeah, it's I've been blessed to coach some pretty high level guys in my training.
Balin, what can a QB expect when they join your training? What I mean, even starting off from the beginning, what can they expect?
Yeah, they can expect detailed and high energy. I'm not the good job coach, and I tell parents all the time, I don't care if you're 5 years old, I don't care if you're college. A lot of coaches, they dummy down terminology so that kids can understand it. I don't do that. I start from the highest level, and if you learn it early, that's going to help you later on. And so I'm not going to say good job unless I really mean it. And a lot of these coaches do that because they know they're earning a paycheck afterwards. So for me, it's about the kids' development. That's ultimately my paycheck is watching them succeed on Saturdays, Friday nights, Thursdays, whatever time they're playing. Ultimately, hopefully Sundays one day. But my reward is watching them being successful. And I'm very big on fundamentals and details. And I'm a firm believer in good feed equals good ball. And so I'm not your mechanic guy. I'm not going to really touch guys' mechanics because as we've seen the game evolve, guys going off different platforms. And I'm really big on that. But as long as your feet work is okay, usually your ball's going to follow right behind. When you start to lose your mechanics from your lower level down and you start to use just your arm is when you start to find yourself in a lot of trouble. So I'm really critiquing how you do your drop steps, how you do your punch steps, how you cross over your leg, how you even move from side to side, how you have your pocket movement, stuff like that. Little things that are fast and twitch. I'm very critical on that development when it comes to quarterback training. So that's what kind of separates me from other guys. I see a lot of quarterback trainers work a lot of routes on air. Look, at the end of the day, those guys can do that with their friends on their own time. I want to develop you and try to perfect your craft in my training so that when you are with your friends or when you are actually playing in a game or even at practice, you're the most polished kid out there.
So ultimately, what made you decide to train quarterbacks? What was it?
Yeah, so of course I was a quarterback my whole life, right? And so my dad played safety at UCF, and he did the best he could, training me growing up. But at the end of the day, I didn't really get quarterback specific training. It was more strength and conditioning, working out, throwing routes, stuff like that. But it was never really how to move in the pocket, how to really do your drops, stuff like that. I had to kind of learn at college camps that we're paying for, where we're really there just to meet the players, not really learn anything. So to be honest with you, that's how it was when I was growing up. I was more about the experience than it was about development. But when I got to USF, I kind of got exposed. I was in Peter Voss's room, and he threw me up on the board. And he told me to draw cover 2 and how to beat it. And I didn't even know how to draw that up. And I'm like, whoa, there's more than just throwing a football at this position. And so I remember how I felt in that day, when I have 4 other quarterbacks and the quarterback coach looking at you like, what are you going to put on there? And I look like I've never played the position before. So in that moment, knowing how small I felt, I was like, if I ever have the opportunity to give back, I want to make sure that quarterbacks fully understand the position so that when their name is called at the next level, they're ready and they're ready to compete early. So that's pretty much where my passing came from is my experience of how I was kind of lost at that level. And again, quarterback training and training in general was not really a big thing when I was growing up. Now, obviously you have trainers everywhere for every position. So it's definitely changed the game. But I didn't have that. I had to just go based off what my dad was teaching me. And again, he played safety, never played quarterback, but he did the best he could. But at the end of the day, we didn't have personal trainers. So now being one, I see how valuable it is. And now I want to make sure that the kids understand the terminology, understand coverages, understand why you're doing what you're doing and your why behind your throws. That way, when you get to college and you're on that board, you know exactly how to say it and what to do. So that way you're looking good in practice, which is ultimately going to get you on the field quicker. So that's really where my passion came from.
What is your involvement in the Elite 11? And for those who aren't, familiar with it, the Elite 11 is, nationwide quarterbacks competing, the best of the best of the best, and trying to draw in each region to see who really is the king quarterback in the nation. What's your involvement with Elite 11?
Yeah, so Brian Stump does a great job with Elite 11. I've met awesome quarterback trainers all across the country, especially those that travel with them specifically to these regionals. And my involvement is just really have a group, work with like Quincy Avery, or I've even done stuff with Palmer. I've even done stuff with Charlie Fry, who was at the time one of the Elite 11 guys who's now in the NFL. But, just working with the top guys there and literally having an own group and helping these kids develop. I think that's ultimately my purpose. And I'm blessed enough to be doing that in the regionals when they come to Orlando and Miami. And then through that, I've been blessed to get some of my guys the opportunity to be in front of these guys. Being a part of the Elite 11, guess what that means? My guys that I train get the opportunity to be a part of it as well and compete. And you have to be invited to these things. And if you're good enough on film and what you're doing in your career at your high school, you get invited and get to compete against the top kids in the country. And at the end of the day, only one kid gets a golden ticket out of maybe 75, 100 quarterbacks. So just to be a part of that process is really cool to see how it all orchestrates and how it all works, and to see the top guys compete at the same field at the same time. I think that's pretty special, especially in your area, right? I only work the Orlando and Miami region, so it's like I get to see the top talent from my area and down south, and it's usually always a pretty good turnout. And Justin Fields won it the year that I was in Orlando, and look at him now. So I mean, I got to see, and then Travius Marsh, he's now at USF, starting quarterback there. He just got hurt a couple weeks ago, but he won the golden ticket when I was in Miami. So I've started to see, big time names win these golden tickets, and to be a part of that process is pretty cool. But that's pretty much what it is. It's just me being a part of a group, me being connected with probably arguably one of the best quarterback trainers there, and getting these guys developed.
Yeah, so just a couple Miami questions now, just to switch topics with that. So, what have been your thoughts on Miami this season, and do you, I guess, believe in the program that they're trying to build there?
So I'm going to be blunt with you, man. I have a relationship with Coach Ponce. He's the quarterback coach over there, and I think he did a really good job at Appalachian State when he had his quarterback there. He was a big-time profiled quarterback. He put up big numbers, and I'm thinking, okay, this is a really good mix. You bring a guy like that who was under Cristobal at FIU. He had success at FIU, and then went up to Appalachian State, and then now he's in Miami back under Cristobal. But I'm going to be honest with you, man, and it's just straight up. The identity of our football team is not who we are. We're trying to be a Big Ten football team in the ACC with a bunch of speed. It's not going to work. It will never work, and I'm telling you that right now. I don't care what these Hurricane fans are waiting on. It's never going to happen. You continue to be identified in the run game with speed, it's not going to happen. I'm sorry. We're not the Miami Hurricanes of old. Yes, those are fun to talk about. Yes, it's funny that people say that the only channel we watch is the History Channel because that's all we talk about. But if you really want to call the facts, we talk so much about the history, but not one Florida team has passed us in our history. So we still have more championships, still have more first-round draft picks, still have, more stats when it comes to football than Florida, Florida State, and all those other guys. So I do take pride in that as a Hurricane fan, but it has been a long time since we've been good, since 2001 when we were a multiple-set offense, mainly this, under center pro style. But at the end of the day, the game has changed. Guys, we are in a game where the spread offense, the RPO, is what is working. And I was so happy with Rhett Lashley, even though he got a lot of heat when he first came in. I don't know if you remember, guys, his first 4 games, they were calling for his head, too. Why are we not scoring points? They were all excited about his offense and how they were averaging 40 points a game at UConn, who's terrible. They were really excited about this, and then they bashed him, and then all of a sudden, De'Aaron King comes in, and now he's the hero. Now we're like, no, don't lose him. We want him. He should be the next head coach at Miami, and blah, blah, blah. And we were putting up big numbers. Why? Because we were using our athletes in space. That is the only way Miami is going to be good now. The game has changed. Our offensive linemen are not as big anymore. We are in the ACC where it's fast and physical. And, guys, look at Clemson. RPO spread offense, dominating. Wake Forest, RPO spread offense, dominating. Now Duke is now RPO, spread offense dominating. Look at UNC, RPO, spread offense dominating. And guys, these are teams that don't have, maybe Clemson, the speed that Miami can recruit being in Miami. I don't understand it. Why are we going to Big Ten football and trying to run it down someone's throat when we don't have an offensive line that's physical enough to do that, and we barely have backs that were recruited highly enough to even do something like that? We're more of a flashy, Parrish is a flashy guy. Ole Miss, perfect for him. Spread offense, RPO. He comes to Miami. We're trying to run the ball 90% of the time. He's a good back, but he's not going to look good in our offense. It's sad. I'm just being honest with you. It's very sad to watch Hurricane football. Tyler Van Dyke does not threaten anybody in the run game. So when he's handing the ball off in inside zone, when he's taking his 2 steps outside the pocket, or do you think a defensive end or a linebacker is threatened by him? Absolutely not. They're stuffing the box and they're saying, you're not more physical than us. We're going to come get you. So until Miami starts to open it up, and look, and this is how I know I'm correct. Mm-hmm. Look at Scott Frost. Scott Frost dominated while he's at UCF. Why? He used speed in his spread offense. But guess what? He takes that same spread offense and goes to the Big Ten. What happens? It doesn't work. The Big Ten is big, fast, physical, pro-style offense. Where did Josh Gaddis come from? Michigan, same exact thing. And honestly, what did they win? They got blown out in the only big game they had, which was the playoffs. Got completely embarrassed. And so we hired this guy because he went to a playoff game thinking, okay, because you were at Alabama, and at the same time Cristobal was there, you made a good relationship. Let's just bring him on down, pay him some good money because he was at the playoffs and see what happens at Miami. Wrong. You guys hired the wrong guy. Honestly, be honest with you, and they're probably going to watch this. I don't care. Guys, we should have went after Lane Kiffin. I was a Lane Kiffin fan. I think if Lane Kiffin was at the University of Miami, we'd be running the table and we'd be actually 11-1 like we were projecting at the beginning of the season when Cristobal came. Cristobal is an offensive lineman. What do offensive linemen do? They run the ball. They love it. They thrive off it. They want to dominate you physically. But, guys, we don't have that at Miami. You can't recruit kids in Miami who eat 1 time a day in their life as children running on the streets because football is the only thing that they have. They're out there getting in shape. That's all the speed. Northwestern, Miami Central, those guys are all speed. There's no big physicality, pro-style offenses, and that's what Miami's trying to be now. And yes, we're in a rebuilding year, but honestly, guys, we're only saying that because Cristobal's in. Because what were we all saying before the season? Guys, we're going 11-1. We're going to the ACC championship. So this wasn't even a rebuild year, but now it is. Because we don't have the right people in place. Miami is too worried about the politics instead of doing what's actually good for the program. They want to make people happy. They want to pay the right bucks to the right people that are alumni associated. And now all of a sudden, people are saying this is a rebuild year. We should give Mario some time. No. Did he ever win a big game at FIU? No. We want to talk about this Pac-12 championships. Well, guess what? The 2 years that they won at Oregon, USC had its worst years. UCLA had its worst years. Stanford had its worst years. And now they're in the rebuilding and getting back to where they used to were. But the times that he was winning, when did he win? The biggest game he ever won was last year when he beat Ohio State. Great job for you. That was a pretty impressive win, but it wasn't because he beat him. It's because Ohio State made so many errors at home that they just blew the game. So at the end of the day, I have no idea other than the fact that he was a former Hurricane on why they would hire Mario Cristobal. That it's a politic. It's not what's best for the program. And I believe Lane Kiffin, what he did at FAU, that's more impressive than any Pac-12 championship you can win at Oregon. What you did at FAU when they were at the bottom of the chain, almost comparable to FIU at the time, and he won consecutive championships, literally had the best records in program history, changed the whole culture at FAU, never had a losing season. That's the guy that we had the opportunity to come literally right down the street before we hired Manny Diaz to say, hey, take over all this talent with all this speed with your spread offense, which, by the way, scores 40 points in the SEC. Name another program that's doing that other than Tennessee this year. But, guys, it works. Lane Kiffin is Miami. Look at him. He talks on Twitter. What other coach is going to talk, he is the definition of Miami, and I wish, and again, we lost that. We're never going to see him in UM, at least in my opinion. Hopefully, maybe way down the line, but we missed out on a big opportunity to where we're not in a rebuilding year, to where we're not having this discussion on a podcast saying, well, what do you think about the process? Because at the end of the day, there shouldn't have been a process. We had a great thing going last year. Tyler Van Dyke was in a spread offense, which is why he was projected a Heisman Trophy winner. You're not going to take a guy who was throwing an average of 30 balls a game to now 13. Guys, who are we fooling here? That was not setting up Tyler Van Dyke for success. We were hurting him by bringing in Josh Gaddis. Now, on the flip side of that, you have Coach Ponce, who was at Appalachian State, who ran the spread offense. If Coach Ponce became the offensive coordinator right now, Tyler Van Dyke is the perfect quarterback for that. But guess what? He's not. He's just the quarterback coach. And now we have Josh Gaddis, who is a Michigan, who is a big-time pro-style offensive mindset, which is why Cristobal probably hired him, because they have the same mindset, and he's coming from Michigan, and he's with the receiver position, probably teaching them how to block because they're doing a pro-style offense, not how to catch the ball because all our best players are in the transfer portal now. But it's like, what are we missing here? It's so obvious that we're so behind with the talent that we have. Guys, we were projected 11-1 this year with a chance to upset Clemson. This was the conversation. It wasn't a rebuild year to see what Cristobal can do to redo what Manny Diaz fell off. Guys, at the end of the day, I don't care what you say, Manny Diaz never had a losing season like this. We were still 8-4. His worst record was 8-4, and we're complaining for his head. But yet now we're 5-7 or 5-6, and saying give this guy some time. No, there is no time. Mark Richt comes in his second year. We're number 2 in the country, guys. This is the standard of Miami football. We got to get back to that. And I love the chain, Cristobal. Oh, we should get rid of the chain. It's a me thing. Well, at the end of the day, what are they playing for? That is Miami football. Look at this, guys. Ed Reed, Ray Lewis, Sean Taylor, when they're scoring, they're celebrating. They don't care who's around. They're showboating. They're showing you exactly who they are. But yet now we're trying to put these guys in a box and say, we're military. We got to do it this way and that way. Guys, at the end of the day, that's not Miami football. That's not the culture of Miami. It's flashy. It's excitement. It's entertainment. And we're trying to put them in a box. It's not going to work. And I'm sorry I'm going to rant, but people need to say, I'm tired of people trying to give excuses for this crap. It's not acceptable. It never will be acceptable. Miami literally has not – when is the last time they even had a 10-1 season? I think it was Mark Richt, right? If I'm not mistaken. But then guess what? He lost the bowl game. So that was a shame. And I was at that game against, I believe, Wisconsin, the Orange Bowl. But at the end of the day, like, guys, what are we missing here? We're missing a freaking true head coach that wants to open it up and throw the rock because we have speed and not power. Sorry.
We are the creators of swag, and we are missing it. We are missing swag from head to toe, Bailey.
Sad. It really sad, guys. Honestly, and it's not getting better until we fire Mark Cristobal. Is not I don't care what you can't convince me. And I'm a quarterback guy, and I hope they all recruit all my quarterbacks. But at the end of the day, until you find a guy that is a true pocket quarterback, I mean, honestly, in this offense, everybody was excited about Ja'Cory Brown. I believe Jake Garcia is probably the best option we have because he is a pro-style quarterback and he can run. He gives somewhat of a threat with his legs, but Ja'Cory Brown is an athlete who can throw. Let's be honest. He's not accurate enough. I saw enough film to see that, but he's a phenomenal athlete. So in the Wildcat package is great, but you could throw him at receiver sometimes. That might be beneficial for us later down the road. But Tyler Van Dyke can't threat you with his legs, so he's not going to get you on bootleg or play action, especially at a pistol or gun. It's not going to happen. So if you really want to go pro style, get his butt under center and do stretch boot, stuff like that. That's going to help him create space. But we're not that because Mario wants to go and gun the whole game and try to do pro style offense. So technically, Jake Garcia gives us the best option, but at the end of the day, we're not even helping him out to showcase his abilities because he's a phenomenal player. I guarantee if he was still at USC where he originally committed, he's playing under that coach over there, he's lighting it up. He's right there neck and neck with Caleb Williams because that's exactly what they're doing. But at the end of the day, we make Jake Garcia look bad because our offense is absolutely atrocious. And I know people are saying we have a lot of injuries at the offensive line. I don't give a dang. You're 6'5", 6'6". You better block somebody. You got a full scholarship at the University of Miami. There is no excuse about you being this position. No, you block, especially if your head coach is, quote-unquote, an offensive line guy, then that means you're not coaching them right. Because how is that an excuse? I don't care what it is. You better give this guy 3 seconds to throw the ball. He shouldn't be getting back. I mean, look at Jake Garcia in the last game against Clemson. I felt bad for the guy. He comes in a pretty bad situation. Throws probably arguably the best ball we've seen all season on the wheel route. The kid drops it. But, I mean, he threw a dime, and the next 2 plays he gets completely just destroyed in 2 seconds, like not even get touched. Guys, it's pitiful to watch. It's really sad. But, yeah, I think there's got to be a lot of changes in the quarterback room and who's calling these plays for these quarterbacks.
Balin, man, I got one last question for you here, and it's a question that we actually ask recruits that we normally bring on. I've asked a couple coaches, but I ask everybody that comes onto this show this question. Why do you love the game of football? Where do you get that fire in you to go out there and just want to see the best of the best from your players?
Well, being a player myself, just looking in the huddle and looking at obviously 10 other people that are literally on the same page trying to accomplish the same goal is something that's unique in any sport. And the fact that you have to literally lay your body on the line for everybody else but yourself, I mean, there's no greater feeling. And that's why when I scored my first touchdown when I was young, I knew this is the sport that I wanted to be involved in. It might not have been my best sport. I think my best sport was baseball. I played basketball, baseball, and football pretty much from the age of 4 through my senior year of high school. But when I scored a touchdown at an early age, that feeling that it took all of us to get all the way down there and score, that meant more to me than any home run I can hit, any pitch I can strike out, any basketball three-pointer I can make. It wasn't the same feeling. So I feel like football is the greatest game because it really shows selflessness. It shows, accountability, adversity, teamwork, discipline. It just all the things that you try to instill in your character and who you are as a person is in the game of football. And it's just amazing to see that. And when it all comes together, it's ultimately beautiful to watch. And if you really want to see that consistently, then look at teams like Alabama, look at teams like Ohio State, the guys that are doing it right every single year. And you're wondering why? Well, guess what? They're very disciplined. They have great leadership. They have a pretty organized program, and they're consistent in what they do on and off the field. And when you see that, I mean, it's the most beautiful thing to watch, and there's nothing like it. And that's why we all look forward to college football. I mean, yeah, as much as we like, college basketball, March Madness, and the NFL, there's nothing like college football. I mean, you could watch to yesterday's game in Ohio and Miami of Ohio. It doesn't matter. You're still watching the beauty of the game, and there's nothing like it, man. So football is definitely the best sport. And again, it literally teaches you everything about life and ultimately winning, whether even in losing, you can still win. And I don't give out moral victories, but just going out there and competing and giving your all and blood, sweat, tears, and the memories. I mean, it's just all worth it, and it's all a win to me. So that's pretty much why football is the greatest sport that's ever been created. Are you guys on?
Yes, sir, we're on. Luke, do you have any questions left here for our wonderful guest, Balin?
No, that's all I got, man. Really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us, man. It's been awesome.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Like I said, I could talk Cane football all day. I've been on multiple podcasts. I just did one with Coach Coop yesterday. I did his final preview show with him, and then I used to do a show with Coach Hayes football. We used to do the pregame and postgame. I did every single one last year. Then I had the birth of my son, so it's been kind of busy because game days is when my wife works, so I watch him on daddy duty. So it's really hard to have a baby cry while I'm doing a podcast. But now those are fun. I could talk it all day long. And the thing about me, and you guys just got to witness it, I don't sugarcoat nothing. And I know I train quarterbacks. I know I got relationships with some of these guys. But at the end of the day, like, the facts are the facts. And some people don't like to hear it. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. And people give excuses all the time. But there's got to be a lot of changes within Miami. And they first need to start with stop being so political and actually go with the right choice and not the favorite choice based on what you think is best for the program or what you think it looks good on paper for the program. You got to go kind of outside the box and make tough decisions and play with fire a little bit. You really want to see the success you want as a program at UM. So I appreciate you guys again time and getting me on this. And I loved it. I'm sorry I probably took a lot of your time, but hopefully it was well worth it. And I look forward to hopefully getting to be on this again soon.
Yeah, man. We'd love to have you back on. In fact, I was just thinking once the season is over, transfer portal starts rolling and things like that, we start getting more information. I'd love to have you back on so we can kind of talk about which direction we might be headed this offseason.
Yeah, sounds good to me. You just let me know, man. I could talk that all day.
All right, man. Well, Balin, thank you very much. And once again, give the good folks an idea of the quarterback training you're doing and where they can reach out to you and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so I'm very big on social media. You can follow me at my Instagram or my Twitter at the same. It's at Balin Trujillo, BAYLINTRUJILLO. It's right there underneath me. And then on my website, BalinTrujillo.com is where I put all my camps, all my training, stuff like that, information, what I'm doing, where I'll be at, or like different breaks and stuff like that. So stay connected that way. Shoot me a DM, shoot me a follow, and let's talk some football. Or if you need advice or whatever, just reach out to me. You can find me. That's that easy. So again, I appreciate you guys, and like I said, go Canes, and hopefully we make a bowl game this year. But if not, we got true rebuilding to do, and that's probably from the ground up. So go Canes.
Let's hope we just make a bowl game and we win it.
Yeah, we'll see, man. We got to change. Coach Ponce needs to be the OC. That's what needs to happen.
All right, Balin, we'll talk to you later, brother. Thank you again for spending this time with us.
No doubt. Good night, guys. Happy Thanksgiving, and go Canes.
You
You
too,
too.
man. Have a good one.
All right, man. That was quarterback coach Balin Trujillo. As you can tell, he is a passionate man who loves the game of football and loves the Canes and wants to see us get better. That's for damn sure. That's what I got from that conversation. Luke, was there anything you wanted to add tonight?
No, man, that's a loaded show. Talking to two good recruits, and an awesome conversation with Bale at the end. So overall, just a great show, and I'm thankful for all of you who've tuned in. It's been awesome.
Yeah, thanks to the Canes fans who tuned in here tonight, man. And we're gonna sign off right now. And once again, this is the Croot on the U, brought to you by the Scoop on the U. Thank you again to my co-host Luke Cheney. You guys can catch him at All Hurricanes. Writing some fantastic articles. Catch him online at Luke Cheney. You guys can see his let Luke Cheney _4. Yeah, catch him online, man. We'll be here every Wednesday night doing the same thing, same time, every damn Wednesday. So we'll catch you Canes fans later, and have a good night, everybody.